Some of the most profound, earth-shattering insights into what life is all about, they don't come from a place of comfort. They come from almost unimaginable suffering. And I can't think of a better example of this than the Russian novelist Fyodor Dostoevsky. So let's dive in and try to understand the mind of a man who was literally forged in the fires of his own personal hell.
I want you to picture this. It's a frozen square in St. Petersburg. A 28-year-old Dostoevsky, who's a promising writer but kind of struggling, is marched out with a bunch of other political prisoners. They're tied to posts, a white cloth is pulled over their heads, and they are staring down a firing squad.
He is absolutely convinced he has just minutes left to live. In what he thought were his final moments, he's trying to get his mind right, to say his goodbyes, to just look at a nearby church, at its golden dome sparkling in the sun. He later called this feeling a mystic terror. This moment, this near-death experience, it would haunt him and completely transform him. But here's the thing you have to understand about his work. This terrifying moment wasn't the beginning of his suffering. Oh no, it was more like the crescendo. His entire life and everything he wrote can really be seen as the answer to this one huge question.
See, Dostoevsky's life was already just steeped in trauma. He grew up on the grounds of a hospital, so he was around death and disease from a super young age. When he was a kid, a close friend of his was brutally murdered. Then, at 15, his mother died of tuberculosis. And just a few years after that, his cruel, abusive father was murdered by his own peasants. And this event was so shocking, it triggered Dostoevsky's first epileptic seizure, a condition that would plague him for the rest of his life.
So, what on earth landed him in front of that firing squad? Well, he joined this group of radical thinkers called the Petrushevsky Circle. Now, this was a time of intense political paranoia, and the Tsar's secret police had infiltrated the group. And for doing nothing more than discussing banned books and criticizing the government, Dostoevsky and his friends were rounded up and charged with treason. And this is where it gets just unbelievably cruel. At the very last possible second, a messenger gallops in with a pardon from the Tsar. But here's the twist. The pardon was never in doubt. The entire execution was a sham. It was a piece of state-sponsored psychological torture, staged just to terrify these prisoners into loyalty. And, well, it worked. That experience was seared into his soul forever. But he wasn't free. Nope. His new sentence was 4 years of hard labor in a brutal Siberian prison camp. He was shackled in 10 pounds of iron and dragged across the frozen wasteland. This place, which he called the House of the Dead, would basically become his PhD in human nature. Down in this abyss, he just became a student of what makes us tick. He watched as ordinary guards given absolute power became complete monsters. He noticed